Well, it's time for the October batch review, and as we all know, October has usually been a creative month for SML, where we actually try some interesting things with videos. September was certainly rough, but let's see how October went. Junior the Truck Driver. So this was apparently the Junior's birthday video for this year, and you know what? Points where it's due. This video was actually pretty good, mainly for being far more creative than normal. Junior, well, becomes a truck driver. I thought the fact that he picks up trucker lingo basically right away, as well as trucker pounds, was actually quite funny. Even just the idea of Junior becoming a truck driver and it actually working was pretty nice to see. I think some of the jokes landed in this video, though others felt like they went on a little bit longer than they should have, such as this joke with Penelope. This video is ultimately a 6.8 out of 10 though. While it didn't manage to do everything well, I thought it was a decent and creative video all the same. My one other gripe is that the way things concluded felt sort of half done. It wasn't bad, but it felt almost rushed. Like towards the very end of the video they sort of ran out of ideas. Oh, also I guess Cargo Flip is now canon in SML. Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay, first of all, I think the title to this video is dumb, but I'll save that for towards the end. So the joke of this video was about Jeffrey Dahmer, the serial killer. Why? I don't know. I guess Logan wanted to make a video about that for some reason. Also, Jeffrey's whole joke for the majority of the video is that he wants to eat certain parts of male victims in particular. I'll admit that upon initial viewing, I thought the line where Judge Chris / Pablo / Poobie said that he ate his ass to death was funny simply because it reminded me of a SpongeBob moment. I'll also say that this goofy walk that was done in the middle of the street was actually really funny. Then we get the obvious portion of, hey wait a second, Jeffrey Dahmer sounds like Jeffy. And okay, this is where I thought the video title was stupid, mainly due to just how obvious that joke was. And then, oops, it was all just a big misunderstanding. 3.8 out of 10. I thought there were some creative moments in here, and I thought Jeffrey Dahmer showing up with a fork and knife towards the end was sort of funny, but the bulk of this video was actually just dumb, or the same joke with Lance playing Jeffrey Dahmer. I only laughed a couple of times in this video, one of which was simply because I thought of another SpongeBob reference. Night Swim. This video... Actually, no, I've got nothing. This video was just really dumb. This was another one of those videos where the Nintendo segment was the highlight because the rest of this video was boring. You got very slight hints towards something more creative, such as this creature in the water that shows up a couple of times, but barely anything is done with that, and the overwhelming majority of the video ends up being just a bunch of talking, so it's really difficult to care about this video. It's a 3 out of 10. It had a couple of things that might have been interesting had more been done with it, but most of this video was just uninteresting. Junior stealing problem. Well, this video relied on mainly one joke, that being Junior trying to steal something, but he has to do it the correct way. I'll say that I like the new gas station set they have here, and I thought Brooklyn Guy's joke towards the end of the video was actually somewhat funny, especially his interaction with Camille. However, as for a lot of this video, I'm actually not sure what I think of the video. It was more creative, though a lot of it boils down to Junior being hesitant to steal a bag of chips, and also the fact that the chips have to go, well, you know where if you saw the video. I'll give this video a 4.8 out of 10 since it was unique enough and a bit creative. However, I'd like to reference back to a video from a while back, that being Bowser Jr.'s candy bar, where Junior steals a candy bar from the gas station. Not only does this happen way faster, but I thought the video was simply done better, especially because part of the comedy for that video was the guilt eating at Junior for stealing a candy bar of all things. It almost reminds me of the SpongeBob episode where SpongeBob and Patrick steal a balloon. Meanwhile, with this video, most of the joke is the method by which Junior is trying to steal the item. I still think this video was okay enough for what it was worth, but it was done far better before. Jeffy the Evil Scientist. I'm actually upset that I didn't react to this video, since I actually thought it was quite funny. Not perfect, mind you, since I think some of Brooklyn Guy's talking near the beginning of the video went on a bit long, but otherwise, Actually, this was a really well done video. Most of Evil Dr. Jeffy's jokes landed here, such as him failing to rob a gas station, or him buying cases of water when he could have just stolen them. Or how about this scene where he's just casually talking to someone else who's robbing the same bank as he is. I also enjoyed his evil plan for just how stupid it was. Also, every single time he said piss, it made me think of the Eggman meme, probably because of the specific way he was saying it. But who knows. Aside from the beginning part with Brooklyn Guy, I actually don't really have any complaints for this video, and even that wasn't all that bad. 7.5 out of 10. A very well done video which was pretty quick to get to the actual good portions of it. The Krabby Patty meal. And this video was almost the complete opposite of the previous one. I said in my reaction that this should have been easy points. I mean, the setup and story for this video seems so easy that the video should have basically written itself. But instead what we got was Junior complaining for minutes on end about how underwhelming the Krabby Patty meal is. Oh, but wait, then we get a segment with Angry Ronald as well. But even then, it's mainly just him saying how much better he could have done it. And I guess this video is fitting in a way, in that this video could have been done way better, and a lot of the comments about how lazily the Krabby Patty meal was done easily applies to this video as well. Seriously, this video being done better would have been so easy. Just have Angry Ronald and Plankton try to steal the secret formula. If you really want to have commentary on how underwhelming the meal is, have them comment on it after they've successfully stolen it. Depending on how it goes, it might not have been the perfect video, but it would have been far better than this one. 1.8 out of 10. Most of this video was just stupid and boring, and I'm docking points as well for just how easy a far better video could have been to make, but just wasn't. Seriously, just shove Chris into a green shirt and or green face paint, have them steal a Krabby Patty, or try to steal one while Chef Pee Pee is getting his, and you could have easily had a far better video here. Sadly, that's not what happened, so this video was just really disappointing. Also, I know I didn't cover the Nintendo animation for this video, but what is there to really add to it? It was just a parody of that one Season 1 episode, except it was the same joke over and over, although I don't blame Nintendo for that. Amber Alert. So apparently this video was a parody of a movie of the same name, but luckily I think this video does a decent enough job of standing on its own. I thought this car chase scene was pretty interesting, and I have to agree that the Cybertruck looks really stupid when seen up close. Or far away. Or at all for that matter. I even thought this scene with Brooklyn Guy on the phone was somewhat funny. However, I think things gradually tapered out when it came to the second half of this video. Don't get me wrong, it was still sort of funny, but not as good or interesting as the first half of this video. And ultimately, not a ton happens until near the very end. And instead, much of this is just Cody demanding a fillet of fish from McDonald's. Speaking of the ending, I'm going to go with the original ending for this video. While I know that technically the ending we have on the channel now just abruptly cuts to the SML question, I don't really think that was Logan's fault, especially since we've had just as, if not even darker endings and moments in SML before. That also means I'm not going to go docking points for the subsequent ending versions being messed up. With that said, this video gets a 5.8 out of 10. I thought the first part was really interesting, and honestly, if it had just been like that for the entire video, I think this video would be getting a higher rating. However, the second portion of this video dragged things down a little bit, and while still not terrible, did ultimately sort of feel like the video was continuing along simply for the sake of it. Scream 2. To begin with this video, I would like to say that I ended up watching the original SML Scream video as well as this one back to back. And to be brief, yeah, the first one was better. It was funnier and more interesting than this sequel. That's not to say that this one is completely awful, far from it as a matter of fact. This video did have its moments, though I feel like this video was ultimately dragged down a bit by having some jokes simply go on too long, or go too far into the comedy aspect of it. I don't know, maybe it doesn't help that I'm comparing this to the original Scream video, which in my opinion struck a much better balance of comedy and horror parody. Also, as a quick aside, what on earth is going on with this scene with Marvin here? It just looks off somehow. Anyway, this video is a 5 out of 10. It's a very middle of the road video, which wasn't awful, but also wasn't amazing either. And I just feel like the first video did a better job at this concept. Billy wants to be cool. Okay, so I was worried that this would be another video where Billy's whole joke was AIDS and nothing else. And for the first portion of this video, that did happen, but then later on in this video, we actually get some Saw-style traps. Okay, this video is going in a positive direction. But then instead of the characters trying to get out or figure out the traps, most of the time is spent on Billy arguing with them, trying to get them to think he's cool, or in the case of Junior and Joseph, trying to turn them against one another by trying to trick Junior. And that's actually about it. The vast majority of this video was just talking and not much more. And honestly, it's a shame that Logan was able to do a Saw parody way better many years ago, like this segment from Cody's sister. 4 out of 10 video. I enjoyed the creativity of the props and trap setup, but the whole video falls apart the moment you realize that's basically it, and most of the video is still just a bunch of Billy begging to be considered cool. The burger problem. This video is based on the fact that it was found out that some McDonald's burgers had E. coli in them. The reason I mentioned that is because of just how quickly this video was released after people found out about that, which makes me feel like there wasn't much time to actually flesh out the video, with Logan instead deciding on making another current event video. Oh, and also, this video was just one giant Angry Ronald segment. This video was also somewhat gross, so that's certainly not helping the score at all. I get this was part of the joke for the video, but that still didn't make it a good video. So between the video feeling rather rushed, being somewhat gross, and just not being all that interesting, 2.5 out of 10. I thought the fact that we got a different doctor character was interesting. Actually, yeah, that's about all I can give this video, because otherwise it wasn't very good. Bat Jeffy. Well, we have a Batman parody here, which was actually decent. Well, okay, more like middle of the road. I feel like most of the jokes landed, sort of. I think the biggest issue with this video wasn't so much that the jokes weren't funny, but that each one went on too long. In fact, that's this video's major issue in general, to a point where it's in this weird spot of being sort of funny, but also sort of not. I thought the joke with Chris and Elena in the car was the one that landed the best, simply due to it not going on for nearly as long as the others. I suppose second place would go to this scene with Chef PP where we find out he has negative $5 in his bank account. Some might argue that there wasn't too much filler in this video since it was taken up by plenty of jokes, but I think that some of the jokes ended up being the filler itself. So this video can only manage a 5 out of 10. It's okay for what it's worth, but not incredible. Had this video been similar but with much faster jokes, I think this video could have easily gotten into the 6 range or better. Scooby-Doo. Okay, cool, a Scooby-Doo parody. This should be great, right? Okay, it really wasn't. To be fair to the video, it wasn't awful, but a large chunk of this video was filler with just Junior and Cody standing around talking. The beginning was okay, but by the middle portion of the video, it started to get rather grating. The twist ending was actually sort of funny and creative, but yeah, that's all I can really give this video. I want to like this video for the moments it did have, but honestly I can't give this video anything higher than a 3.5 out of 10 for being just okay at best. This video should have had more perspectives, since for crying out loud we have several characters in here, but even this scene with Penelope and Timmy was the only one that acknowledged their perspective at all. Ironically, I think it would have been far better had they stuck to a closer parody of Scooby-Doo. Have Junior and Joseph raid Goodman's fridge like Shaggy and Scooby, with them maybe stumbling upon a clue by complete accident. Have Cody doing a lot of searching for clues as Velma, Penelope falls into a trap or something as Daphne, and so on. It might not be the most inspired parody ever, but it would be far more interesting than what was mainly just a bunch of talking. Terrifier. Okay, so I don't know much about the actual movie Terrifier, so let's just talk about this parody. This, in my opinion, is what the Scream 2 video should have been, and lead far more into the simple angle of horror movie villain but real, without being too silly about it. Sure, there were a couple of silly moments, but not so much so that it detracts from the video. I'll also add that using the stuffing for puppets to circumvent using blood was actually really creative. So this sounds like a pretty good video, right? Well, sort of. The one big issue with this video is that there was a not insignificant amount of filler. Not as much as the previous video, but enough that it's definitely noticeable, and to where I'm going to have to dock points for it. Speaking of a score, this video is a 5.5 out of 10. This video was decent, but just had too much filler and should have just gotten to the horror parody portion faster. One other gripe I have is that this was the 6th parody video we'd had this entire month. And honestly, I felt like it was starting to get grating towards the end for one simple reason. I'd prefer actual horror videos, or even a horror parody video that was actually horrifying, instead of it being one giant joke that it's a horror parody. However, I'll save more of that for the conclusion. Let's move on to this month's final video. Trick or Treat. Well, we have what feels like the obligatory trick or treat style video for any SML October. Now, unfortunately, this video didn't have jet engines being shoved into candy. Okay, look, in all seriousness, this video was just fine at a 3.5 out of 10. I thought the joke when Tyrone answered the door was actually really funny, and I suppose to a lesser extent the scene with Craig was somewhat funny, and finally, the scene at the gas station was funny simply because I didn't expect it. Unfortunately, there's an entire rest of this video which ranged from okay to just boring, and I think that's the biggest problem with this video. My favorite SML Halloween special still has to be Happy Halloween from all the way back in 2016, and even then that's only because of the actual horror sections of that video. But for this video, it just wasn't all that interesting. I still wish that they'd do something similar to that other Halloween video where they actually had some horror portions. Oh, but wait, they did have a horror section in this video, right? I mean, yeah, for not even a minute of the video's runtime, and it was just Junior being scared of non-moving Halloween decorations and nothing else. I guess I can appreciate the setup that went into that at least, but yeah, that's about it. This video wasn't all that great. In fact, I'd argue that the actual scariest part of this video is the fact that Marvin gets beaten up, because that gave me Jeffy's bad word flashbacks. And now it's of course time for this month's final score, which is a 4.5 out of 10. And I mean, that's certainly an improvement from last month, but actually somewhat disappointing. I figured if there was going to be any month this year that would get a good rating, it would be October, since at least there are some genuinely creative videos in October. Well, that was still the case for this month, and I'll even say there were some genuinely quite good videos in here, such as Junior the Truck Driver or Jeffy the Evil Scientist. There were also plenty of videos that dragged the score down a lot, such as the Krabby Patty meal or the Burger Problem. And like I mentioned in the section for Terrifier, am I the only one that was starting to get sick of the parodies towards the end of this month? Because what I really wanted in the spooky month was actual horror. I get it, I've said before that it feels like SML can do a horror video basically any time of year that isn't Halloween, but it's still somewhat disappointing all the same. I get that the parodies here are supposed to be more goofy than anything, but for the entire month of October, there couldn't even be one decent and actual horror-themed video? I think Billy Wants to Be Cool got sort of close with its Saw-style traps, but that was of course ruined. Terrifier might have had this as well, had it actually leaned a lot more into the horror aspect instead of the parody aspect. In fact, what was the most recent horror video we've gotten from SML anyway? Five Nights at Freddy's sister location? Even that video had a similar problem of not being able to take itself seriously for long enough to establish the horror element. In short, I'm just tired of horror parody videos when we could get some actual horror. But I know October isn't all about horror, and there are some actual normal videos in here as well. The highlights we did get were actually really well done, but I can't say that this month was all that great for SML, since we still had videos which were plagued by filler and missed potential. I'm looking at the Krabby Patty meal in particular. Like I said before, I thought that October was going to be the month with the highest score, perhaps even getting beyond the 5 out of 10 barrier. I really don't have much hope for November though, but I guess we'll see how that goes. Well, that's all for now. Thank y'all for watching, and take care.
Oh, look, an ambulance. Now then.